Bhagavad Gita is about spiritual development. It's about, is a conversation between Arjuna, who is a warrior, the head warrior of the good faction, and he's on the battlefield, and his charioteer, you know, the driver of his horse and wagon, he is Krishna. He represents the God force, the infinite. And so the whole poem is about the conversation between Arjuna and God, the higher force. And also you can think of him as a symbol of the teacher, the guru in the Indian tradition. So Arjuna is there, you know, and it's, you know, if you read it, I read it again now for the first time since many years, but I mean, it is a beautiful symphony, this poem, you know, it builds it up, you are on the battlefield, and you can feel these forces lining up, you know, in the ancient days with the archers and the air, all that, ready to kill each other. And on the two sides, you have people who are Arjuna's teachers, uncles, cousins, friends, people he's grown up with, you know. And there he is, and he's supposed to go to war and kill them. How do you get out of a situation like that, you know? Arjuna, he looks across and he sees all these deer faces, and he just says, no, I can't fight, I can't kill these people. So he is totally dejected. He said, no, I give up.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it. No. And then Krishna starts talking to him, you know, his deeper inside starts talking with him and trying to answer, what is the solution to this? And it's a beautiful conversation. First, you know, he's totally dejected, can't move. And we recognize that, don't we, in our lives? I mean, I know one time in your life, just somehow you're sitting in front of me, you know, one time in your life, you were like Arjuna, you know, you fell over and you were finished. But you said it yourself in the talk you gave here, beautifully, that the practice, you know, your relationship with your deeper self made you rise up, and you went through it, you know? And this is what we can do in our life. We will meet things that it feels like we are on the battlefield. So when he's talking then to Krishna, Krishna says, look, this state does not become you. You are a strong man, you are a warrior. Rise. Rise like a fire that burns all before it. In other words, don't let any obstacle stand in your way. But, I mean, this is easier said than done when you are in that situation, you know. So then the discussion goes further between the two of them. He says, well, how am I going to do that? And basically what Krishna guides him to do, he first of all, you know, talks about the fact that the ultimate reality is that things can just form up and happen, and we cannot feel guilty or attached to it. We just have to move through it. But if we can move through it in a surrendered state, or in an open state, in a powerful state, then we have the opportunity to actually go from feeling defeated to feeling victorious. But victorious in that sense is not necessarily that we win the war.
No.
The victory is that we transcend it. And the thing is, you know, it's better to rise up and meet the challenges and be defeated than to not meet the challenge, because then you know, you die in dishonor and all of that, which of course in those days were more important in society than it is today. For a warrior to not go into battle, and this guy was a prince, you know, to inherit that kingdom, his family would be dishonored forever. So you have these different forces in the society. You know, he was in a no-win situation from a societal point of view. As a warrior, he had to fight. As a family member, it's a sin to kill. It's a sin to kill anybody, but a special sin to kill your own family. So what does he do? And this is the tremendous situation that is presented beautifully. And you can feel it as you read this thing, you know, that, oh, there's a different state I can be in that lifts me above the whole thing. And that is to identify with the eternal side of myself. And realizing that there is no such a thing as death, in a way. You know, I mean, the deeper reality is eternal. It's infinite. Well, I can say that, you know, but can we feel it? And from my own experience, at least, you can. You can feel I call it the dynamic stillness in yourself. That dynamic stillness is eternal. It doesn't end when the body is over. And of course, this is not a reality to us as individual people until we become familiar with it in ourselves. Then it is. And then we can go there and we can feel that upliftment even when we are in extremely difficult situations. And the Bhagavad Gita also says, you know, that what at first may seem like nothing but pain and sorrow, eventually in time becomes I think they use the word heavenly wine.
Yeah.
Wine. You know, it tastes rich and intoxicating. And this is what my teacher Rudy meant when he said, pain is God's love.
Yeah.
You know, if you can embrace it and feel your deeper nature, then somehow there's a sweetness in that.
Yeah.
So, you know, it is a way of deciding to live a heroic life. Having this set of tools that you can use inside is really, really a great gift, and that is what the Bhagavad Gita talks about. It talks about, it uses the image of a turtle pulling its limbs in and head in. I like that image very much because it doesn't mean you cut your limbs off or cut your head off. And so if those limbs and head represent your desires, tendency to get lost in thinking and all of that, well then you just don't attach to your limbs. Pull yourself in when you feel these desires. I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that. There's nothing wrong with that, except that it will drive you nuts if you let it take over. You know? It will, because another image that is used is that these desires are like a fire. And you know what a fire, if a fire starts burning, nothing can satisfy a fire. It has to be put out with some counter force. Otherwise it will burn and burn and burn and burn, the whole planet will burn. You know? And this is how desires are. If we just let go into desires, we chase after this and chase after that and chase after that, and it never really satisfies. So, pulling your limbs in, learning to control yourself, manage yourself, so that, you know, your desires are not your enemy, but that they become your servant. You can use your desire, you can use your, like the turtle, use your head, let your head come out, let your limbs come out, but move in a direction slowly and carefully that benefits everyone. Benefits you, really. So it's a difference between being driven, and being a victim of your own ego, and letting your ego and your individual qualities work for you. And the best way to have yourself work for you is to give. And the karmic law is, which is also described in the Bhagavad Gita, is that the more you give, the more you have. Yeah. Yeah. And you test it out. When you give something, you open a space that will be filled with this deeper awareness. And this is the most worthwhile thing to have. And you have things not to have them. It's like your place here. This is a beautiful place. But it could become anybody's prison. Couldn't it? If you are every day driven by, oh my God, how am I going to make this work? How am I going to make it grow? And you're totally eaten up by that. And you're a nervous wreck. You are not, because you don't do that. You have your practice, you relate to it as something that can bring you joy. And you give of yourself, through this. Then it's a wonderful thing. So, we want to have things in our lives as opportunities to contemplate the infinite. And this goes in personal relationships. If you relate to a person who's close to you in your life as something you have, somebody you have, what happens?
You're afraid to lose it? Or?
You're very afraid to lose it, and you're clinging to it, and you're going to strangle it. You have, I think it was Thich Nhat Hanh said, you have to love somebody in a way that makes them feel totally free. This is not easy to do. It's not easy to do, but it's really rewarding. Because in so doing, if we love in a state of surrender, then we are basically appreciating infinity. We are appreciating the infinity that person represents. You get the difference? If this is my place, this is my wife, trying to strangle it is only going to be strangling yourself. Okay, let it go. Let the other person be exactly who she is or he is. Don't try to change the person. Just contemplate and look for God in the other person.